Red Flags of Emotional Repression, Part 34, Victim and Perpetrator Consciousness. First things first, everyone who struggles with victim consciousness has been victimized at some point in the past. So let's just acknowledge that and get it out of the way. Now, because of and at the time of our past victimization, most of us started to bury and repress certain emotions in our bodies. When you hear people talking about trauma or trauma events, that just means something bad happened and we were forced to, at least in part, push down our internal reaction to that bad thing happening. Sometimes that's anger, rage, and power. Sometimes that's hurt, grief, and sadness. Sometimes it's a little bit of both. But either way, the reason victim consciousness persists after the event is over is because we have repressed and buried certain emotions and energies in our bodies to stay safe. And now they're stuck down there, directly affecting the way that we perceive everything that happens in our lives, right? It becomes like our emotional repression lens or filter. Sometimes that's primarily the victim lens, sometimes primarily the perpetrator, sometimes it's both. But regardless, it's all being created, sustained, and driven by the buried, repressed emotions in our bodies. Let me talk about the mechanics of each type of lens for a second. Thanks. The victim lens is more often than not associated with the repression of anger and power. As you can imagine, right? Push down your anger and power, you're going to experience yourself as a small, powerless victim. The catch-22 of this kind of consciousness is that due to the anger repression, the very thing that you need to come out of the victim position, your anger and your power, is something that your emotional repression mechanism will not let you access, feel, or express. You gotta think, someone who's real seriously hurt and traumatized by someone else's misuse of anger and power is gonna have some real strong opinions about those emotions and energies and a tough time accessing them in themselves. One of the reverse inquiries we use to provoke up people in victim consciousness's buried, repressed anger and power is, it's okay to be angry and powerful. It's okay to be like the person who abused me. And then comes a huge hell no in their body, right? Like a contraction going, it's not okay, it's not okay, it's not okay. But that is the voice of their own anger and power repression. And if they can make that conscious over a period of time and bring that buried anger and power back online, victim consciousness goes away. Now, let's talk about the flip side of the coin that you don't hear about as much, perpetrator consciousness, which is often associated with hurt and vulnerability repression and being raised by someone who was or is in victim consciousness. I got a close friend who's a hurt and vulnerability repressor. Their parent is an anger repressor who has always lived in victim consciousness ever since my friend was a kid. And so because of the parent's anger repression driven persecution complex, my friend was conditioned to believe that no matter what she does, she's hurting people, right? Everything is her fault. She's the perpetrator, right? Or the victim of the victim. And here's the really tragic thing. Until my friend began to do her own emotional repression work and come out of hurt and vulnerability repression, she was forced into perpetrator consciousness in order to have a relationship with someone who was committed to victim consciousness. Here's the reverse inquiry that my friend or anyone stuck in hurt repression and perpetrator consciousness can do to provoke up their buried, repressed hurt, sadness, and grief. It's okay to tell the person who's always acting like I hurt them that they actually hurt me. And again, the big no that rises up in the body will be the hurt repressor's ticket to freedom from their emotional repression. Take a look at this guy. Woo! And of course, in a great many cases, both the victim consciousness, the anger repression, and the perpetrator consciousness, the hurt repression, are active in the same person at the same time. But the solution's always the same. Resolve emotional repression. If you'd like to learn how to, visit repressiontest.com.